My sister-in-law invited us for a Thanksgiving dinner. Well, apparently there wasn't enough chairs for everybody to sit at the table. So my sister-in-law stands up and says I will be the one who does not get to sit at the table, and when I tell you guys the reason she picked me, well, you might think that she's a toxic loser. Here is the reason. I barred my future sister-in-law Lana from attending my wedding, and now a chunk of my fiancé's family's mad at me. For some context, I met my now fiancé Darren 4 years ago at a local conference. We exchanged numbers and talked for a bit before we decided to start dating. After about a year, I took to him and, well, he met my folks. They live one state over, about a 4-hour drive. My parents and older brother took me to Darren immediately, and my parents because he's super nice and genuine, while my older brother because they were all into soul, like video games. So we ended up staying over the night because by the time we got done chit-chatting, it was super late and my parents did not want us driving back in the middle of the night. The next day, I asked Darren when I'd be able to meet his family. Well, he said he doesn't really like hanging around his parents. Not the house, at least, because his brother and sister-in-law always hang around there a lot. While he loved his brother and his younger sister, his sister-in-law is extremely weird and annoying. He said she's super exhausting to be around and says things that she knows are going to make people mad. Then, when she gets called out, she says they're just jokes. Let me give you an example. He gave me this example, so here it is. When she called his younger sister a mistake, his sister Caitlin is 16, much younger than him and his older brother. His parents called her the surprise child because they weren't really expecting it. Darren's brother must have told Lana the story, and the very first time she met their sister, she says, "So, you're the mistake, aren't ya?" Which is an absolutely unhinged thing to say to someone you just met, let alone a 16-year-old. Kate has hated her ever since, and like she won't even speak to her or acknowledge that she exists, and Lana frequently gets mad at Kate for ignoring her, saying she's holding a grudge over a little joke. She keeps saying she's always wanted a little sister, and tries to make Kate like her, I don't know, by being suffocating and obnoxious. Always asking a bunch of questions about school, her friends, her interest, and when Kate clearly wants nothing to do with her. Let me tell you what the kicker is. Lana never feels the need to apologize for the wild things that she says. No matter how hurtful they come across, she complains about everyone being too soft and taking just things serious. I could tell Darren was getting angry just talking about her, so I told him I got it. I would eventually have to meet his family if we kept dating, but was willing to put it off until he was more comfortable. Well, that time did come about a year later. His parents invited us over for a dinner at their place. Darren introduced me to Caitlin first. She's a quiet kid, kinda a goth, and into indie rock. I brought her a bottle of non-alcoholic wine because Darren said she really liked the wine aesthetic, but obviously can't drink. I also wanted to make a better impression on her than Lana. Speaking of, she and Darren's brother came a little late. Let me preface this next part by saying I'm a black woman, and Darren and his family is white, and the reason I'm even telling you this is because it's about to be very important in a minute. Darren's brother was really nice, though he does seem a little bit of a pushover. When Lana came up and introduced herself, she said something like, and I quote, "No wonder Darren kept you away for so long," then slapped him on the arm and said something that was racist as hell. Darren immediately starts yelling at her with a lot of obscenities that I don't feel comfortable repeating. I've never heard him get that loud. And meanwhile, his brother was standing off to the side looking like he wanted to jump in, but he didn't. Kate pulled me off to the side and told me Lana always does this. She keeps telling her parents to stop inviting her over because there's always a fight when they do. Lana is always spouting off at the mouth, and she gets super defensive and spiteful when people call her out on it. Anyways, their parents had to come out to, get Darren to cool off. He came over and asked me if I wanted to leave and grab dinner somewhere else. I told him I was fine. I had not even properly been introduced to his parents. They were nice and, well, apologized for Lana's behavior. Lana told them they did not need to apologize for anything because it was a joke, and she gets mad at her husband for not jumping to her defense. That almost started another fight, but I got Darren to calm down before he could go off on her again. Well, we went ahead and sat down for dinner, and it was awkward, which has to be expected, right? Darren's parents asked me about what I do for work, and that was about the only conversation that we had that night. I sat next to Kate, and she kept showing me pictures on her phone, and we would both have a little laugh about it. Lana keeps staring daggers at us, and at the end of the dinner, she said something like, "Oh, so you guys are best friends now? Like, girl, it's not my fault you ruined your relationship with Kate right out of the gate." I did not see Lana or Darren's brother for a long time after that. Again, because Darren doesn't go over there. I understand why now, but I feel really bad for his sister. If his brother and Lana are always over there, that means that she has no choice but to put up with them. Wow, now that you all understand what I'm dealing with, here's what's happening now. 8 months ago, Darren proposed and we moved in together. Since then, we've been meticulously planning our wedding. Lana's been annoying me through the whole process, and first, when I was choosing my bridesmaids, I asked Caitlin if she'd be interested in standing, and she said no. No hard feelings, she's just not that into that stuff. Well, okay, fine, and Lana butt in and said that I should let her stand so Darren's side of the family could be represented properly. Darren shut her down and said he didn't even consider her family. That's not all, though. She's getting sneaky, and she got my number out of her husband's phone and starts nagging me about tagging along for a dress shopping. Says it's always good to have a second opinion. I told her there's no need because my mom and sister would be helping me with that. A few months later, she messaged me and asked about the food and drinks. I told her Darren was handling that, so if she wanted to give her input, she had to ask him. I guess she never did because he never brought it up. Our bachelor and bachelorette parties are in 2 months, and she starts messaging me about where we're going and what are we doing. Even though her husband is at the bridal party, Darren hasn't told him anything because he has no spine when it comes to Lana. Anyways, I told Darren to please tell her to leave me alone. He said that I should have told him sooner because he didn't want her to have any contact with me because of her racist comments. He called his brother and spun a story about him seeing Lana messaging me, and told him he either told her to back off or it was going to be a problem. And now yesterday, we put on the finalized guest list for our wedding, including the bridal party and everyone who RSVP'd. Lana was notably not on it, and because she was not invited, it was not a mistake, but a conscious decision. Darren and I made this decision together. We didn't want anyone spoiling our day, and she would for sure be the one to do it. Well, apparently she saw that her name was not on the list and started blowing up the family group chat. A lot of people were telling her it was, probably a mistake. Her husband was on the bridal party, so there's possibly no way that she would not be invited, right? Wrong. Darren went in there and cleared everything up. Told everyone about the racist comments that she made and said that there's no way she would be present on our special day. He didn't care if she begged or not, and some of the family members agreed wholeheartedly, especially after Kate co-signed what Darren said. The rest of them thought it wasn't right. Lana was not invited when her husband was in the bridal party. Darren told them that he could find someone else to take his brother's place if he wasn't comfortable being in the bridal party. He would still be invited to the wedding, of course, but his wife? Oh, no, she wouldn't. Darren's mom called me and asked me to reconsider. I told them it was more Darren's decision to not invite Lana. When he asked me if we should include her, I said I didn't care either way and basically left it up to him. He handled the invites on his side, and I handled the invites on mine. There are certain people from my family I did not invite either. She then asked me if I'd be willing to talk to Darren and get him to change his mind, and because Lana was extremely upset about all this. Well, I asked him, and he said that he would only consider it if she sincerely apologized to me. I passed on that message and have not gotten an apology yet. But I'm going to be fair here. If I tell Darren to invite her, he probably will cave and do it. So, should I invite her just to get the family off our backs? Or should I honor Darren's decision and keep her off the guest list? Update number 1. I didn't think I would have another update this soon, but here we are. This actually doesn't have anything to do with the wedding, surprisingly, but it does have everything to do with Lana's nonsense. So, we're 2 months away from the wedding, and Caitlin's birthday was last week. Darren and I did not want her special day to get overpowered and shadowed by the wedding craziness. And since my family offered to pay for the wedding venue, we decided to take the money that we'd set aside to pay for her and her friends to go to a concert. One of her favorite bands was having a show nearby the weekend of her birthday, so it was the perfect opportunity. Now, what I'm about to tell you is the second-hand information I got from Caitlin, but it will be very relevant later. After we surprised her with the tickets, Lana came over and told her that she'd booked a spa day for them together for her birthday, saying it could be a day for them to connect and simply repair their relationship. I don't know why Lana thought Caitlin would want to go anywhere with her. Anyways, Caitlin told her that she already has plans for her birthday and that she was going to a concert with her friends. Lana asked her how she was able to go to a concert unsupervised at night when she couldn't even drive. Well, Caitlin told her that Darren and I would be taking her and her friends, which Lana obviously did not like. Darren had asked his brother to borrow his SUV so we could all ride in the same car together. So, let's fast forward to the day of the concert, and Darren calls his brother to ask if he could come get the car. It turns out Lana had taken the car and disappeared for hours and he couldn't reach her. We told him it's fine, we would just use our own cars and split the girls up. Of course, Lana was doing this out of spite. She has her own car, she didn't have to use her husband's, but whatever. We made the best of it. The concert was really fun, and the girls had a great time despite Lana's nonsense. When we got back, Darren questioned his brother about exactly what went down, and he knew his brother had tracked her in his SUV since his last car's been stolen and never was recovered. His brother finally caved and said that he saw Lana was out with one of her friends over there at her house the whole time. When he confronted her about it, she threw a tantrum and said, Darren and OP are always trying to make her look like a villain, and he was a bad husband for siding with us. We don't have to make her look bad, she does a great job of it on her own. Darren told his brother that he needs to stop letting Lana walk all over him and put his foot down. She treats him like he's her child and not her husband or equal. He agreed and said that he would talk to her about her behavior, but I'm not expecting much about it. I can tell he's scared of Lana for some reason. Maybe he's scared of her divorcing him and just taking half of his stuff even. Whatever it is, he needs to get over it. Update number 2. I'm writing this update from the airport as Darren and I are going on our honeymoon. So, remember how I said we were unsure if Darren's brother was still standing in the wedding? Well, he did. We had our bachelor and bachelorette parties first in Vegas. We decided to do it together because it's more fun that way. We weren't expecting Darren's brother to even come, but shockingly, we met him at the airport. Now, I know for a fact that Lana did not want him to go and wanted him to drop out of the wedding because she was not invited. When we were at the Airbnb, he told us he and Lana fought because he told her he was going to the wedding. She was telling him he didn't care about her because I was choosing Darren and me over her. He told her that he was not going to miss his brother's wedding because she was too stupid to control her mouth. Then he said, if she doesn't learn to control herself, then he wasn't going to be sticking around for very long, meaning he was threatening a divorce. I didn't know this, but apparently a failed marriage is one of Lana's biggest fears. And while Darren's brother hated using it against her, she was getting on his nerves more and more by the day. Both her mother and her older sister are divorcees, and their partners left them with nothing but mouths to keep them fed. I'm beginning to wonder if her entire family is like this. We all had a good time in Vegas. I was so used to seeing Darren's brother meek in the corner that it was weird having him party with us. He's actually pretty cool to be around when Lana wasn't hanging off his shoulder. The wedding was 2 weeks after that, and the ceremony was lovely. The reception was lovely. Heck, we decided to have a fall wedding because the botanical garden is right next to an orchard, and it was beautiful that time of year. The reception was when we ran into a little hiccup. I noticed Darren's brother kept moving away from the head table to use his phone. When Darren asked him what's going on, he said Lana kept calling him asking when the reception was going to be over, so she could come get him. Darren told him to tell her he already has a ride home, so she doesn't need to come, then to turn his phone off. Well, it seemed to work. One of the other groomsmen took Darren's brother home, and wait a second, there's more. The very next night, he shows up at our doorstep asking if he could spend the night. He'd gone to their parents' house, but they were upstairs asleep and probably could not hear the doorbell. We let him stay in our spare room, and he did not go into much detail, just said that he and Lana got into another fight. I'm hoping and praying that they work it out and just make it. Now that we're past the wedding, I want to move past all of this drama. Update number 3. I was wrong. We were not able to move past the drama. In fact, the drama got even worse. So, Thanksgiving was yesterday. We spent it at Darren's parents' place up until before we had an idea if his brother or Lana were even attending because they have not given anyone a clear answer. So, when Darren and I got there, we saw Lana in the kitchen helping his mom set the table, but his brother wasn't there. We asked her where he was, and she said he went to grab some ice. Well, my mother-in-law looked like she wanted to say something but kept her mouth shut. We didn't know if anything was going on with them or if they would make up the drama surrounding the wedding because, again, we'd heard nothing. So, Darren's brother gets there like 15 minutes later with ice in hand. Darren asked him what's going on with him and Lana, and he said he didn't want to talk about it. With no answer from either of them, we just turned to Caitlin for some clarity. She says she doesn't exactly know what's going on, but Darren's brother barely comes over anymore. Most times when their parents make dinner, only Lana shows up, and she's always making excuses about him working late or whatever. Anyways, we all gathered in the kitchen to help put the final touches on the dinner. That was when we noticed that there were 7 places set at the table. Apparently, my father-in-law had taken one out to change the porch light and forgot to bring it back. Darren's brother told everybody to sit. He grabbed the chair and he said he would be right back. This is when Lana said, "We should put OP on the floor. She belongs there anyways." I expected a lot of things to happen. For Darren to start yelling, of course, and for Lana to say she's just joking. But before any of that could happen, Caitlin drew back and punched Lana square in the face. Next thing I knew, Lana's on the floor, blood pouring from her face, and Caitlin's holding her hand. What I thought was even worse than that was Darren's brother coming back into the kitchen, stepping over his bleeding wife without looking or speaking to her, and just sitting down to eat his food. My mother-in-law called an ambulance. Lana lost some teeth, and Caitlin had 2 broken fingers. They both got to the hospital, and when they asked Darren's brother if he wanted to ride in the ambulance, he said no. He stayed back with his dad while his mom went to Caitlin and Lana. Needless to say, Thanksgiving was cut short. When Darren and I made sure Caitlin was okay, we went back to get some food and had our Thanksgiving dinner at home. I can say with confidence that next year we'll be driving to my folks' place for the holidays because that was too much. Final update. Well, just a quick little update on my lunch break. This will probably be the last of it since I'm tired about talking of this. Both Lana and Caitlin are okay. Lana lost a few teeth and had to get some temporary dentures, and Caitlin's injury is taking its sweet time to heal. Lana wanted to press charges, but my brother-in-law got her to back off. His parents were worried about getting in trouble too, since Caitlin's a minor, but things have smoothed over, thankfully. We also learned more about what's really going on with Lana and her husband. They've separated. He rented an apartment, moved all his stuff out, and left her alone in a house. But Lana seems to be pretending that they aren't. Since she's a stay-at-home wife, she's been struggling to pay the bills. So she's had to get a job waiting tables at a local diner. Whenever somebody asks about him, she tells them he's been very busy with work. And when people ask why she decided to pick up a job, she just says she wants something to do since her husband's working so many extra shifts. The girl is delusional. I asked my brother-in-law about it, and he said he doesn't care if she lies, so long as she gives him the space he needs to rethink his life choices. Anyways, about a week after their separation, we were having dinner at my in-laws and Darren's brother. Well, wasn't there. I asked where he was, and she said that he was working late and made up a whole elaborate story about how he had some big project to finish, so his whole team was working overtime and weekends. And you know what Darren said? Well, that's funny. I just texted him and he said he was at a game store with his buddies. She starts to sweat, and Darren pressed her even more, saying he already knew they were separated. She gets defensive and says they were not separated, they're just having a little break. Darren told her she could lie to everyone else, but not him. His brother's been asking him if he knew any family lawyers who could help him file for separation. In our state, you have to be separated for a while before you can file for divorce. So, it was not looking good for her. My mother-in-law jumped in and told him to back off. But Darren said no, he was actually trying to help her. He told Lana if she wanted his brother to take her back, she needs to change and grow up as a person. Stop being weird, learn to control her mouth. People want to like her, but she makes it very difficult by leaving a bad taste in their mouth at the very first encounter. I agreed with Darren wholeheartedly. She needs to work on herself if she wants her marriage to succeed. This is one of those stories where the sister-in-law, she's the one trying to make everybody feel bad, but it's just because her life is the one that sucks. She has karma hit her at the end of it, and she's embarrassed when her significant other brother calls her out, says, you know what, we all know that you're just lying. We know that my brother's leaving you. He's about to get divorced from you. You don't have to lie to us. You can lie to everyone else, but it's not going to work with us. And I think that was the embarrassment that she needed, and it kind of flipped up her demeanor. Let me know what you guys would have done if you found yourself in this position, because I feel bad for OP even having to deal with somebody like this. Drop your thoughts down below. Let's talk about it. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead, click that subscribe button. Also, if you just can't get enough stories, just know I have 2 other channels. One of the channels is called Mr. Reddito's Revenge, and the other one is Mr. Reddito's Stories, where you can find a ton of different genres and all sorts of things. Everything is located down below in the description. I hope you guys have a great day, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.